But, you see, like, women are expected to uphold, even today, if you're pursuing femininity, if you're pursuing that, there's no level of self-harm, like wear the uncomfortable shoes, do the uncomfortable waxing, get the plastic surgery. Don't let anybody know, because one of the central tenets of femininity is that it must be effortless or appear effortless.
Yeah, like get your face like altered and alter your physical body, but don't do it in such a way that it's clear that you had like a nose job, because some people don't like that.
If something does happen to you, then don't let everyone know that anything happened to you. Just carry on like nothing happened, or kill yourself. I mean, that's
kill yourself.
Still the lesson today. Like what it comes down
really
to.
True.
Yeah, I mean, and literally, if you're looking at something like anorexia.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We've just had hundreds of years to like make the message, like disguise the message more in, in our media and stuff, but it's still the same thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And I feel like in both of these stories, it's like the women are bearing the responsibility for the men's actions. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not hearing about what happened to the guy who raped her.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I'm sure that he figures into the story also after the rape, but like, as far as we know, he just like went off and had a nice life, and everybody was like, hey, what a guy, you're great.
I don't think so. I forget what happened to him. I could probably Google it if you super want to know, but the important thing is this woman in this story,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
like
it's...
I am curious about like what Roman boys were supposed to take away as like their lesson from that story. Is it the same as the Sabine women, where it's like, when you see something you want, you take it?
Yeah.
Or, I really hope he had like a horrible death, but I feel like I can't expect that.
When you see something you want, you take it, I think is a key lesson you could get from both of these stories, and I think that definitely ties into colonialism.
Mm-hmm.
Gender roles and colonial roles. They're all in a big knot in ancient Rome, in the basement of the patriarchy. Yeah.
Well, and like it's interesting that these stories are both, I mean, they're both pre like hardcore colonialization that came later in the history of Rome.
Right. They are. Yeah.
I guess the Sabine women was kind of early colonization, but it certainly wasn't on like the same scale as, later history. But it definitely sets that precedent of like, see what you want, take it. You deserve it. You're Roman.
Mm-hmm. You're Roman. You can have whatever you want. Have what you want. Might makes right. Exactly.
Yeah, very much so. Ugh.
Yeah.
God. So those are like foundational stories that then they built a whole culture on and then exported that culture.
Yes.
God, that is very dark. When you said that they were going to be dark, I was like, oh, what, you mean like, like, this is Greek, but like Zeus turning into a bull and like raping someone? I know about that. But
that happened too. Yeah.
So how do you think that the messages there like carried forward as Rome was being built into more of a complex society?
Well, I think that there are some... I think that actually ties into your other question, too, about gender expression inside and outside the norms. Mm-hmm. And so what we can do is we can take a look at what gender was supposed to be and what happened to people who stepped outside of it. So,
okay.
Yeah. So as far as I know, you had a question about was there room for gender expression outside of the norms? So the norms, let's just review. Women, the soft, sweet hand of temperance on the shoulder of the warlike man, and a lot of that it has to do with power and how women are supposed to operate in terms of agents of their own destiny. Women were not supposed to necessarily have a lot of agency. You're supposed to be in the home as a woman. Be a wife and mother. Women at the upper echelons of society were not supposed to have direct power. The way that women wielded power in ancient Roman society was supposed to be very much behind the scenes, very much, softly influencing their husbands.
Okay.
Some women were very good at that, and some of them did not do that. And I'm going to talk about some examples. Yeah. And, of course, men were supposed to be, like strong and taking action and warlike, and if you see something you want, you take it. That was what a man was. Men wielded power in the outside world. Women did not, you know?
This all sounds very familiar to me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sounding familiar?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's clearly still something that's pushed today, you know. I mean, we have the saying, behind every great man is a great woman. Well, obviously that wasn't a saying that stood in my household, but I was raised by a bunch of nasty women, so.
Good. Yeah. Women were not supposed to, even higher levels of society, women were not usually taught to write, so they didn't necessarily write things down and tell their stories. So we don't have a lot of stories of women directly today. And submissiveness, that was a big thing. So that was kind of women's roles, and it was all in opposition to men's roles. Men were supposed to be the opposite of that, and it was very, very rigid.
Okay.
There was not much of an accepted social category for people who stepped outside of the gender binary. And that's not to say that people didn't step outside of the gender binary, because they absolutely did in a lot of ways. But there was a huge social price for it in ancient Rome. So I'm going to talk about how men were perceived first. In ancient Rome, one of the worst things you could call a man that you wanted to insult was to call him effeminate. And
that sounds familiar too.
Yeah, this is really not going to shock either one of you. So there was a lot of discrimination against men who had what people saw as effeminate traits, and you see this cropping up all the time in the ancient sources when writers are describing emperors that they didn't like. They always describe them as having various effeminate traits, according to ancient Rome, what their idea of an effeminate trait is. One of the big things was if you have sex with a man in ancient Rome, as a man, if you're a cisgender man and you have sex with another cisgender man, that was not necessarily automatically something that was gender nonconforming, as long as you were on top.
Oh, interesting. So they really wanted to know the details when that was happening.
Oh, yeah. They really wanted to know who was on top at all times. That was very important to them.
Oh my God. So today, when someone finds out that you're gay and they ask who's the man and who's the woman, that goes back to ancient Rome too. Are we just Romans? Are we just straight up all Romans right now?
Yes. I hate to say that.
I think about the same idea in the film Dances with Wolves, where Tentu Cardinal actually gets on top during the sex scene in that movie, and then everybody's like, oh, that is so woke, and I'm like, no, it's not.
Oh my God.
Shocker.
Yeah,
sometimes
that's so woke since what, ancient Rome? What?
So actually that makes me think, I don't know if there were opinions on ancient Rome about heterosexual sex and the positions that women were supposed to take. I imagine that they were all supposed to be missionary, but I didn't research that. But now I'm super interested in it.
Yeah, me too, because it could be anything. Maybe pile driver was the way to go, and that was just expected that you'd be really athletic and able to be on your head for a really long time. I have no idea.
I mean, I would not call that a passive position at all.
An athletic position.
Very, yes, for both parties. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was, they had visceral contempt. It leaps off the page for anybody who took what they saw as a passive role in sex. So if you took the D instead of giving the D, whether you were a man or a woman, that was demonized. And really, if you were a man and the ancient Romans thought that you were sleeping with another man and you were the bottom, that was fodder for really bad teasing. Yeah.
Which essentially comes down to shame.
Shaming. I think shaming is the appropriate word. Demonizing even. Teasing is not, it's not serious enough, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's also just so contemptuous of women. They're it's here's your role. You're supposed to be passive. You're supposed to be the receiver. and we're going to shame the hell out of you for it. So, like, you literally can't win.
Yeah, does that sound familiar? Like,
well, I mean, that's a part of keeping the power structure in place is like instilling a binary and then enforcing it and making sure that everyone else enforces it too. And so the binary here is like masculine versus feminine, but obviously there's tons of other ones, good versus evil, colonized versus colonizer, you know, and so what it comes down to is like the power position is the colonizer or the masculine or the
if you see it, or if you see something and you want it, take it.
Yeah.
And that clearly can't be the passive role in a sexual relationship. You
Women
can't
aren't
be that
supposed
kind
to
of
do
person.
that. Yeah.
You have to have a side to demonize and you have to have a side to uphold. And if you don't have something to uphold, then you start to lose the power in this situation very quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why they did not like anyone who stepped outside of the binary, because if people are stepping outside the binary, there are men who are not quote unquote acting like men and women who are quote unquote not acting like women. All of a sudden, you don't have those strong boundaries, and you can't assign the qualities to women who everyone agrees are women. Like there's no, changing like gender fluidity at all. Women are women and men are men. And if women are not accepting those qualities and men are not embodying those qualities, you don't have a justification for oppression.
Exactly.
So,
and chaos. Chaos. If we're not oppressing people.
Either chaos or peace.
Oh my God. But not the kind of peace we like.
Lenny, peace is only found in law and order. I don't know if you know this. That's how it works.
I don't know that. I study law, and it doesn't seem to have any like correlation, really.
Lenny, I don't know if you know this, but actually, all of those tribes and different peoples living outside of Rome at this time, it was complete chaos all the time. They had no idea what they were doing. They needed some law and order.
And that's what it came down to for like those who who have been colonized throughout history, is they must be living in chaos because they aren't doing what we're doing, and that can't possibly work.
Oh my God, they have nuance in their society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's coming from somebody who is considered the colonized but acts uncolonized. I mean, I just got called uppity this week. So
what? Somebody called you what?
Uppity. Like, because I wasn't on the side of the binary that I was supposed to be on.
Well, that sounds familiar to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's and it doesn't surprise me. Like, it really does not shock me at all that whenever people who are extremely invested in the patriarchy now today feel insecure about their position in that patriarchy, they all of a sudden get really upset about what bathrooms transgender people are using.
Yeah, chaos.
Right.
They're afraid that we will literally descend into chaos if the rules aren't being followed by everybody. Right.
Well, they're afraid of losing their own social position,
Which gendered bathroom do you think that they preferred in ancient Rome? There was gendered bathrooms in ancient Rome, right?
Well, there were public bathrooms that basically only men used, as far as I know. Like, I don't think women were supposed to be outside to that degree.
Jesus Christ.
I kind of want to know all about that now. Like, how far back do public gendered bathrooms go?
I don't know.
Really good question.
I don't think women were supposed to pee in public spaces at all. Like, from what I understand, I haven't done a deep dive on bathrooms. There's a different podcast called The Explorers who does a lot of stuff about that. She's great.
Okay.
She is. I've only listened to a few episodes of hers, and I need to get back to them. They're really interesting.
But to make up...
She covers a lot of bathroom stuff.
But to make up for all of those people in history, I use the bathroom in public as often as possible, just to... just to take it back. Mark my territory.
For the sisterhood. Right. That's how I feel.
I feel like probably what ended up happening, if there were literally no like public bathrooms for women in ancient Rome, is you had like women peeing in alleys.
Oh,
so, like,